and welcome back to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Tara Nolan from Nolan Financial. Welcome everybody who's on the call. If you're new to the show is all about education and understanding that finances is like this whole web of things that happen, and every decision you make kind of touches every other decision. So it can get complicated quickly. And what we like to do on the show is take a bite-sized piece of information, break it down so that you start to understand the whole picture as it goes. We're coming up on the holidays, so we're going to talk about some things you can be on the lookout for. I love this because for me, I think life is hard enough and I make enough of my own mistakes. So anytime we can give you some tips to benefit from, hopefully we save you a little mistake here and there. And just to remember, the show is recorded, so you can actually go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to watch it. And you can also go to my website, nolanfinancialpartners.com, and look at old shows. We do lots of different educational topics. So I would invite you to do that as well. So before we jump into the show for today, I wanted to introduce everybody to my amazing co-host. If you haven't met him already, Tony Shore. How are you doing today, Tony?
I am doing great today, Tara. So good. Excited about the show today. We're talking about keeping our finances in good cheer, you told me. That's what you want to talk about, and I think that's a great topic. But first, something you mentioned at the top of the show, and we haven't talked about this in a while. We need to remind our listeners that we not only have listeners, but viewers. We actually record the show each week on video, and Tara, you make it available on your YouTube page. And Tara has, you have your own YouTube page. I think if they go to YouTube and search Nolan Financial or Tara Nolan, they should be able to pull up your YouTube page on YouTube and see all the episodes. And they can scroll down and choose an episode like, whoa, they're talking about Social Security, or they're talking about inflation, or they're talking about, something that I'm interested in or need to know about. And the shows, you're very educational. I learn a lot from the shows each week, and I know our listeners do as well. You're constantly getting calls from listeners. So I think it's a really important thing to note.
And not just educational, Tony. The goal is that we give you some actionable step that you can take. So it's not just like stuff, but like, what can you do?
Action, taking action. There you go. I like that. That's true. You do give actionable steps on things people can do to improve their lives, at least financially, and sometimes in many ways, obviously. So I love that. Tara, how are you and Chris doing? You guys are keeping busy, aren't you?
Tony, I think that's just going to be how life always is.
It's always that way. I ask you that. I say that every week, and you guys seem so busy to me all the time. So,
well, I think I've boiled it down in my life. I've got the 3 things that really matter. Well, 4 things: family, my horses, my Air Force Reserve. I'm going to be sad the day that I actually have to retire. I like that service with the Air Force, and then my financial business and taking care of people. So I try to keep all those things to mesh together. But I can tell you, like, my horses is my mental health process. And I volunteer with the Therapeutic Riding Center. And I'm like, I realized I do that for myself too.
Yeah, that's therapeutic for Tara, right?
if
it's I'm not necessarily for the horses, it's for Tara. Yeah.
Yes.
We get that. Yeah.
Right. So, but I think that's like all of us, right? We all have so many things going on, and you try to put all the pieces together and keep it going. But you get one right around this world, and you might as well enjoy it.
That's right. Well, that's great. Now, I think, talking about, the holidays, you said we're coming up on that time, and this time of year, people can get nervous about it. And I think a lot of people know how easy it can be to spend more than we intended to financially during this time of year. I know my wife and I are always guilty of that. So let's dig into this. Where do you want to start?
Well, I kind of want to start. I think this is a real opportunity we have, right? After the pandemic, we hear about the supply chain issues and how hard it is to get all our stuff. And I think this is a great opportunity to take that step back and go, what is the holiday about? this holiday is about family and thinking about, whatever your religion is, baby Jesus, and taking care of people, and maybe that's a gift that the supply chain is down and you can't get all the stuff, and you can you almost take that
Right.
step back. Like, you remember when you were little and you used to make gifts for people? And
Yeah.
you'd get out the art
Yeah.
supplies and the glitter and the glue, and you would make cards for
Homemade
people.
cards, or
And
homemade Christmas ornaments. Yeah.
and I can tell you at this point in my life, Tony, that's what that means more to me. Like, because I'm at the stage where if I need something, I'll buy it. And I don't need someone to buy me stuff. But if someone does something like, just writes me a note, or just something little that's got the thought behind it, that really means something. But I remember I went through a phase, because when we were little, we were poor. And so we made gifts because that's all we could do.
Yeah,
And
you had a
then
big family too, a lot of mouths to feed there.
6 kids, and you just never get ahead of that. And then as I
No.
started becoming a young professional and making money, I took a lot of pride being able to go to the store and buy real Christmas gifts for
Sure.
people. But now I'm getting to the age where I'm like, it's not about that. It's about just showing people you care.
That's right.
And so I would just like
That's
to think about just taking that minute for everybody to think about, what is Christmas really about? And before you get all worked up and, well, I didn't get the Christmas lights up and I couldn't get the ornaments for the tree, and you run through that list of, just go, wait, I'm just trying to create a special experience for my family. And instead of being frustrated with all the things that you can't buy, because all that commercialism, at the root of it, we're just trying to show our families we love them. Yeah. And your kid is going to be, you want to get your kid like the new hot toy or whatever, you're just trying to create good experiences for your family. So I think we can just try to think about other ways to do that besides stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think you just described the plot of Christmas Vacation. I had visions of Chevy Chase. He wants to try. He wants to try so hard with the lights, and everything has to be perfect. And yet, nothing. The harder you try, the less it seems. The more frustrated you are when things don't work out. But really, what it is about just being with family and being together, and the true importance of the season, so, but no, seriously, that's exactly right, Tara. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And that's a good life lesson that we all need to learn. The holidays can be so hectic for so many people, and people let this time of year stress them out. And I think that, there are things you can do to overcome that. Just don't worry about it. Not everything has to be perfect. You don't have to get the perfect gift for everybody. Just be in good. If you're in a good mood, that's going to go further than a good gift. You know what I mean? With people that you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, I think absolutely, and it's a lesson to teach your kids, because if you don't teach them when they're kids, how are they ever going to learn? And it's one of those lessons, I think, like for children, like they may not get it in the moment, but then, years down the road, they'll go, oh, I get it. And that's totally okay. Like you can try to teach somebody something, and the nugget will go in there somewhere, and then they'll appreciate it later. So anyway, so that's like the big, I always like to start with the big vision and dream.
Sure.
But now let's get into some actual real pieces of advice. I always want to laugh, but it's not really funny though, is this like these porch pirates.
Porch pirates. I just heard that term for the first time this week. Literally this week, like 2 days ago, was the first I had ever heard that term, porch pirates, and I had to laugh. I'm talking like a pirate, but you hear porch pirates, it's funny. It sounds funny, but it's not, and it's actually become a problem even in the neighborhood where I live. Where there's no crime. I live in a neighborhood where there's no crime. Not that it's a fancy neighborhood. It's just a smaller town, suburb. It's never been an issue. But porch pirates, people stealing packages off of porches, right? That's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just, it's another, it's human nature to do that. And it's just, with our delivery systems, it's become a thing, and it's irritating. And I can tell you, like, my brother lives in Iowa, and he's got one of those, electronic cameras now that capture, all
like the Ring doorbell.
Yeah, and exactly that's what it is. And a lot of the neighbors
Yep.
have it. So it's like another neighborhood watch system because, people are working and having it. So that helps. But I mean,
Everybody on my street now has one. We have one. All our neighbors have one. So
we're moving into that world where we're all
yeah.
being watched all the
I
time.
got a notification 2 days ago, Tara, and it said there's a person at your door. So then you hit watch, and it goes back a few seconds and shows, and it turns out the person at my door was a big black spider crawling across the Ring doorbell camera.
Oh boy.
Scared me a little bit, but it wasn't a thief. So
Right. So, but here's the thing you can do, because we're all like, everyone's ordering lots of gifts, and the hard part is right as you work. So if you were home, you would just get the package and it wouldn't happen. So what you kind of have to do right now is you either have to order things that require a signature. So especially if it's something a little pricey that you really want to make sure you receive,
for sure.
make sure you get that required signature, or, try to coordinate with the neighbors. Like maybe you have a retired neighbor, and we all have those people in the neighborhood that sit and watch.
Yep.
Maybe engage that person. Say, hey, when that package comes, can you go pick it up?
That's what I do. I tell my neighbor, and I get notifications when packages have been delivered, or I can see it on my Ring doorbell camera when the guy drops it off. And then I just text my neighbor, can you run over and grab this for me and keep it until I get home from work? And he's more than he works from home, and his wife's retired. So, he doesn't mind. And we do it for them when they're out of town. So
I love it. So you're just talking about, you just basically created a group in your neighborhood to pick up packages.
Yeah.
And
a neighborhood package pickup group. Yep.
And it's a holiday spirit, taking care of each other.
Yeah. And that's the way, again, there you go. We need to take care of each other during the holidays. That's the best gift you can give somebody. But that is good advice. I'm glad you brought it up. That's becoming more and more prevalent. I don't know why, since COVID, things like that have been happening more, where people are stealing packages off other people's porches. You hate to hear about that. And I think people are basically decent, but we read about the exceptions in the news every day, right?
And it's just, like the bike lock that you have is just to keep the honest people honest.
Yes, exactly.
You remove the temptation out of there.
Yep, and exactly.
Another interesting thing that I didn't know that was an option is Amazon has these things called hub lockers, where instead of delivering it to your house, they have locations like at the grocery or convenience stores, and they'll just basically put it into like a locker, like you might see, at the airport or the bus station or train stations, and they give you a code. And so your package is just delivered to that location, and then you can go pick it up. So that's another way. Like if you're in a city, or you're new to a neighborhood and don't have that neighborhood relationship. So it's another good alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, in our town, there's a Kohl's department store, clothing store, department store. And I don't know if you've heard of that one or have that one out there, but that's a FedEx. I think most Kohl's stores are FedEx, or not FedEx, but Amazon locations. So you can just go there and pick up your Amazon packages at their customer service desk. So that's awesome.
And then you can put a lockable box on your own front porch, and then you just share that code with the delivery person, and that way they can leave your package there. So
that's another good idea. I've never heard of, but that's interesting.
Well, there's technology's always given us ways, but for me, what I have to worry about is the wind. If I have something that's light, the wind will come through and blow it down, and I've just got a 10-acre field next to me. So sometimes I have to go out there.
Flat field, but the wind just comes whipping across there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's mostly flat, but there's still nooks and crannies for things to hide. So sometimes I'll actually get on the horse and go ride around and look for packages. I have found them that way.
Oh no! You must have really strong winds there to blow packages away.
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
That's the only time I don't enjoy living out here.
Yeah, that's true. The wind.
But we're just talking about like good ideas and ways to keep everything safe. And this is what we do with our financial planning, is make sure that we've kind of looked at, we're taking all the actions that we can take to make things as best as they can be. I like to call it, Tony, trying to reach our maximum financial potential. And so I would just encourage everyone who's listening today, you're getting into the holidays and you're kind of busy with that. But take a minute to go to nolanfinancialpartners.com, or give Chris and I a call at 719-210-4242. Because one of the things that we do with people is we like to sit down and help you make sure that you've organized everything and you have everything in the best place it can be. that your money is as safe as it needs to be as you are preparing for retirement. And give us a call, 719-210-4242. If you want to have that experience of knowing that your money is as safe as it can be, that you're going to be reaching that maximum financial potential.
Excellent. Yeah, I encourage our listeners to give you a call. And I'm glad you mentioned the website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. Great website. Terry, you and Chris have so many resources for people there that they can utilize, things to read, things to do. They can listen to past shows. They can view past shows. So I think that's really good. Now, let's move on into our next segment. I know you wanted to talk about some ways to stick to a holiday budget and to really watch what you're doing when it comes to your finances, right?
I do. And this is interesting because I was watching the news, Tony, and they were talking about how people are actually like doubling down and buying like 2 gifts because they want to hope something will come. So I wanted to share this story with you. When I went, about 8 years ago to this great real estate planning conference when I was learning about investing, and the guy that was teaching the class, he shared the little ritual him and his wife had developed is what they actually did instead of like Black Friday after Thanksgiving, where there's a mob at the store.
Yeah.
He and his wife actually go after Christmas and they go shopping together and then select what they want to have. And they get to peruse all of the holiday sales.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
He said at Christmas, they tuck in and they have, some nice hot chocolate or a couple drinks and they share a nice meal and have a nice quiet evening and kind of think about what they're thankful for and kind of have that time. And then they save the whole gift giving thing for after and they go out and they just make it a special fun day and they go. And what he said that was funny is that they go shopping together, but each person goes and picks what they want for themselves.
Oh,
and so they don't have to worry about like, did I get the wrong gift or did I do anything? So I think maybe just part of the holiday budget is kind of turn it on its head and go, okay, here's what I want to spend. But always like the question I always have people ask is, why are you spending the money, first of all? And, what is the goal? What experience are you trying to create for somebody? And just take a minute that you're not just getting wrapped up in, I got to get the stuff, and I've got to get them a car, a toy car. And this person has to have their fairy godmother princess doll or, whatever, and go,
sure.
Oh, wait, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to create this experience? And then if it looks like it's not going to work, just make a different plan and say, hey guys, we're going to do something different this year. We're going to have Christmas after Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Tara, and that's one way to tackle the current supply chain issues. And you've talked about that on past shows. Right now, things are hard to get. And you mentioned people are even ordering 2 of the same item, hoping one will show up in time. And that's crazy. But there are a lot of supply chain issues, and I think that's been getting a lot of press lately. So maybe after Christmas, you're going to see some great sales on what is available, and I know a lot of stuff will come in late. So, it's really one way to just not have to deal with right now going to the store and worrying about, am I going to get what I want on time?
Right.
I think that's a big concern this year that people have.
Now, I like to talk to everybody, Tony, so I know there's some diehard shoppers listening today.
Oh, yeah.
So for you folks that are listening, and you probably already know this, but you can do some price matching. And you can do that very aggressively because, a lot of stores like Target and Walmart and Best Buy, they do that deal, right, where they match each other's prices.
Yeah, they're really good about it. Yeah.
And so if you're that person that will go through and look at the sales and couponing and looking at that, now you're in your sweet spot. So you can go through and figure out what you want and then take the time and look at it and do that price matching. And that's going to be a way that you'll make sure that you're getting the best price that you can.
Yeah. Well, and I think a little poking around on the web or the internet or even the Sunday newspaper, that can keep a nice amount of money in your pocket. And I want to make a point here. I recommend people for saving money shopping. And if you're into shopping, because this has multiple positive facets, get the Sunday newspaper. Subscribe to your local Sunday newspaper. And I know that goes against current conventional wisdom. And a lot of people just, hey, you can get all your news online. You've got it right there on your phone. But I like supporting the local newspapers because they need
Mhm.
supported, and they do provide more local news than a lot of places, even the online sources. And I like holding a newspaper and going through page by page and reading the headlines. And the
Right.
Sunday paper is great, especially around the holidays, because of all the coupons and ads. And my family just sits there and goes through them and the months leading up and say, oh, this is a great price on this, or for grocery shopping. And the great thing is, cost wise, the Sunday newspaper is cheap just to subscribe to the Sunday paper. And usually you get the holidays as well. Like Thanksgiving, you'll get a paper on Thanksgiving if you're a Sunday subscriber. So if you live near a city with a good, nice, big local paper, or even a smaller paper, subscribe to the Sunday paper. I think it's great. I love it. And I love, me, I like tangible, I like books. I like
Oh
the
yeah.
news.
Yeah.
I like the newspaper.
So, and then now to shift gears again a little bit is I wanted to ask you, did you ever read The Gift of the Magi?
Oh, yes.
It's a great
Yeah.
story. So I won't make a spoiler
Yes.
for anybody who hasn't read it. But one of the things I really like to talk with my clients, especially who have children, is how do you start instilling that charitable giving aspect into your kids early? And
So
we talk
important.
about, like, with the kids developing, like, if they get their allowance, they divide it into thirds. So 1/3 of that money they get to have to spend, 1/3 of that money they save, and then 1/3 of that money they donate. And what I do with a lot of parents is they'll add that up, and then they make that part of the process with their kids to say, okay, now you've got this little pot of money. What are you going to do with it? And one of the things that a lot of the parents have told me that works really well is they pick a charity to donate to, and then they let the kids get involved in picking that charity. And so while they're getting stuff, they're also going, oh, but I'm also giving as well. And so you
That's a
kind of
great
build
idea.
that in, and it helps that thoughtful, well-intentioned gift. It's a gift to yourself, right? Because don't you feel good when you've given or donated?
Yes. Yep.
And
And that's a great idea as a Christmas gift to give somebody, because you can donate to a cause or organization that that family member or friend supports or would be supportive of. And so what you can do is donate in their name. And usually when you do that, the place will give you a card or a little gift like a t-shirt or socks or something with their logo on it. And then you give that card to your friend saying, for Christmas this year, I donated X amount of dollars to your favorite charity. And I think that's really a great idea. That's a great idea, Tara, for Christmas. And I like the fact that you're taking it even further and instilling it. I love that idea of making your kids, when they get money, they get to keep a third, save a third, and the other third donate to a charity. That I had never heard of doing before or thought of. And yeah, I wish I had done that with my kids. We try to instill charitable giving with our kids, and I think that we've done a good job with that. But that's an even better idea. That's a great way to go about it.
it's all those little things that really help, and it's all
Yeah.
about the actual doing, because ideas are great, but it's like when you do it. And
Yeah, it's the action part of it, right? Yeah,
right,
there's
the
always,
action part.
we're not talking about ideas, we're talking about actions,
Right.
right? As
Now,
well.
I came across this next one and I really love it because it goes back to something one of our neighbors used to do, is thinking about, gift wrapping. That adds, some places have free gift wrapping, but just the time and the money that you spend on the fancy paper and the bows,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and the stress. Like when you've sat down and you have bought all this stuff and now you've got to, like, wrap it all. And I love it. One of my neighbors used to do, and goes back to your newspaper story, is they would keep the comics from the
Yep, the
newspaper
Sunday
all year.
comics.
And
Right.
and that's what they would wrap gifts in. And
Yes,
it was just
I've done that.
newspaper. So it didn't have to be fancy and perfect, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
And so just kind of think about that you can be creative. It doesn't have to be like this. Because I mean, how I've done it, where I'm like, I got everyone's gifts, and then I go home and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot wrapping paper.
Yes, oh, that happens. That's an every year thing for
And you don't
us.
want that to undo the good feeling you have because you just got
Yeah.
all these thoughtful gifts, and then you're laying on top of that all your stress because you don't have paper.
Right. Well, and if you've ever seen anybody who's ever watched a 5-year-old unwrap a present, they know that they could care less about the paper. It's just going to get shredded, and they just want to get their hands on what's inside. So
Right.
the paper is so secondary. Most people, sometimes, it's like my mom will sit there and carefully unpeel each
Oh,
page. Like, and it's
but
just
that's
like,
more to
Mom,
irritate everybody, I think.
yeah, we're all waiting, like the kids are just screaming because they want to rip open all the gifts, and yet we want to go one by one so you can see what
Yeah.
everybody gets, and then you get to the. It's like she could spend an hour unwrapping a gift, and I'm like, give me that. We're not saving the paper. Oh no, I want to save the paper. It's
Right.
like, for what? You have 75 years of saved paper that cannot be reused. So anyway, that's a fun one, but you're right. That's a good one.
Well, and then here's like a good tip for the people that are just do want to be thinking about their budgeting and spending is I love it, just kind of like the envelope method, to take out the cash that you're going to spend and just put it in an envelope or something so you have it. So that way when you've spent all your money, you know you've spent it.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy with a credit card. Because it's disconnected from the reality of what you're doing. And you can get yourself into a spot. And have you really given anyone a gift if you've put yourself in a financial tough spot? Have you really helped your family and friends at all if you do that?
Yeah. Good point. I think that's a really good point. That's another one. So we have to watch our finances this time of year. You've given us some great tips and action items, things we can do, Tara, but we're out of time. Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
Well, I would just add to everybody, I mean, think about Christmas and the holidays. It's a time, if you get the right feeling in your intention, then everything else it'll be fine. And it, all the hassles and the problems, if you just keep a sense of humor about it, it'll all be okay. And I would just say, if you're thinking about trying to organize your finances and getting ready for the new year that's coming up, and you want to hit it off with a great start, go to nolanfinancialpartners.com, book a discovery call, or call 719-210-4242 to come sit down with Chris and I, and we'll go through what you're doing and make sure that you're going to reach your maximum financial potential and live the life that you want.
That's huge. Well, Tara, great show today. Once again, great to be here with you. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Talk, Nolan Financial Radio, with our host, Tara Nolan.
Join us soon for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio. Take care, and we'll talk with you next time.